They desperately need a win tonight, down 2-0 to the Indiana Pacers. If they want to win, Paul Pierce will have to lead the way. But in his way, the Defensive Player of the Year, Ron Artest, who's back.
You cannot win it and be a champion playing defense.
You're serving a one-game suspension. The NBA's Defensive Player of the Year, Ron Artest, is back in the Pacers lineup. Jermaine O'Neal and the Pacers have a 2-0 series lead. They have the Celtics looking for answers.
I believe that green and white are the best damn colors to be worn by a sports franchise in all of human history.
Paul Pierce and the Celtics aren't giving up hope as they look to the past to inspire their future and a Game 3 win. Later, the Rockets play host LA.
Fun to watch. Every game is fun when you watch the Lakers.
The game was no exception. The Lakers down 1, went to Shaq for the lead, but the Rockets had one last chance for the win, but couldn't get it done. In Game 2, Shaq scored a playoff career-low 7 points, but Karl Malone and Kobe Bryant helped secure the lead. Unbelievable! Welcome to Times Square, the McDonald's NBA Brackets hangout in the heart of New York City. We get set for another Friday night of playoff basketball. Welcome inside our Times Square studio. Kevin Frazier, Greg Anthony, Stephen A. Smith, and guys, a desperate situation for the Celtics. Can they win tonight?
They can, but it's not just about them winning a basketball game. You know, for Danny Ainge, he's also trying to see what his guys have in terms of character, how they're going to respond in the playoffs, which is a little bit more important than the regular season.
I have no questions about Paul Pierce. I have a question about everybody else on that roster, and because of that, I can't see them winning this game. I hope they do, because it'll be more interesting. I just can't see it happening now that Ron Artest has returned.
All right. Maybe the truth rises up tonight.
I think he's going to have a big basketball game. But again, I don't know necessarily that they win. I think Danny Ainge, from his perspective, big picture, will these guys be a part or the focal point of a championship caliber team?
I repeat, they can't.
It's that simple.
I can't.
Pacers 1-7 all time in Boston, so maybe there's hope.
2-7.
Maybe there's hope. Okay, if you say so. Let's go to the maestro in Boston, Brett Musburger.
Kevin, thank you. Ron Artest returns to the Pacers after his one-game suspension, and for the Boston Celtics, Paul Pierce with his hands full in this one. The Celtics trail the Pacers 2-0 in the best-of-7 series. McDonald's Eastern Conference brackets show you also that Miami leads 2-0. New Jersey within 1 of sweeping away the Knicks. And in a shocking second game, Milwaukee has taken the home court away from Detroit. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I'm Brett Musburger. Pleasure to be alongside Mr. Raftery here tonight. And, Bill, I want to tell you, the Celtics really have their hands full in this one.
They wish they could bring all the great names back. Unfortunately, they can't. They're all retired. But they have to value the ball and push it. Maybe the Leprechaun would help as well, but to make good shots in the early offense.
Now, the Pacers, the return of Artest, Jermaine O'Neal, a great young player. This is a very tough team.
They really are organized beautifully on the defensive end. I think Jermaine O'Neal playing off the ball, Brent, has been extraordinary. He attacks the rim in a ferocious fashion for his strong send it in. But defensively, this is what I like. When they get their easy baskets, deflection by him and a run out, but he's established a low post game that's pretty extraordinary.
Well, Pierce knows that the Celts swept away Indiana in Boston last year. Now, Mr. Raftery mentioned help. How about this guy? Larry Bird is here tonight. Unfortunately, he's the president of the Indiana Pacers. Well, how about the chief, Robert Parrish? He's retired. Cedric Maxwell, he's doing radio across. Tommy Heinsohn, working TV. And the Coos himself, Bob Cousy, long retired. Folks, Pierce needs help.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA playoffs, brought to you by The Day After Tomorrow, there's May 28th, who invites you to shift the way you move through the world. And Wendy's new Chicken Temptations. It's better here. Fox's presentation of ESPN's Play Like There's No Tomorrow.
The North Trains lead here at the Fleet Center, and you can see the Celtics of the Indiana Pacers at ESPN high definition. NBA first round playoff best 4 out of 7. As we take a look at the Bud Light starting lineups and the return of Ron Artest.
for the Indiana Pacers with a lot of pressure on the front line of the Celtics. They have been badly outplayed so far in this series. They have to step it up. Now in the backcourt, of course, it'll be Pierce, and it'll be a cross matchup as Artest will take him, but he will have a lot of help from the rest of the Indiana Pacers. Played outstanding defense under Rick Carlisle this year. Now let us check in with our colleague, Doris Burke. It's nice to have you along with us tonight.
Thank you, Brent. On the same day Ron Artest learned he would be named the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year, he learned of that suspension for Game 2 for leaving the vicinity of the Pacers bench. Now, he did watch that game from the comforts of his own home, but as soon as the final buzzer sounded, Ron Artest drove to Conseco Fieldhouse, got to work out in the practice facility. Billy, he said he was concerned about his conditioning, knowing he would have to check, in his words, one of the best players in the NBA, Paul Pierce.
Well, the nice thing that Brent alluded to was he gets a lot of help, particularly Jermaine O'Neal off the basketball, but he's strong, and I love the analogy Rick Carlisle gave us that he's like Jimmy Brown. He can't wait to be hit. The tackler gets hurt, and I think that's the same thing with him.
We take you back to the incident that resulted in the suspension. He violated a rule. You cannot leave the vicinity of the bench, and here he is. And of course, New York Knicks fans do not need to be reminded of that scene. Patrick Ewing and several of them flowing onto the floor in a flare-up with the Miami Heat a few years back. But Artest returns, and the Celtics could not handle Indiana in Indianapolis without Artest. But of course, it's a different series here. Larry Bird with Donnie Walsh next to him, and the ownership of the Pacers ready now for Game 3. The Pacers all time do not have a good playoff record in Boston. They are 1-7, and they have lost 6 in a row. But that means nothing tonight with these two teams here, and the Celtics must deal with the Pacers' size down low, Ralph.
And as the Pacers go man-to-man, I think Paul Pierce, it's very important he take good shots, get other people involved. Don't force the issue.
Artest is chasing him. Earlier today, Carlisle said he was great at denying people the basketball. Pierce determined back down, didn't get fouled, and Artest was all over it. Miller, spot 3. Missed. Welsh can run. Looking for an opening. Kick it now to McCarty with the jump shot.
Well, that's refreshing. He's usually a spot-up shooter. They want to run, get good open looks, and then attack the rim.
O'Neal steps out and brings Blount with him. Foster, McCarty on him. Artest lurking over in the left corner. Now he jumps out. Fires the 3. They missed their first 2 shots, the Pacers. Becky Atkins critical to the team. McCarty other side baseline. Drives, cut off Foster. Pump comes up. Air ball into Jermaine O'Neal's hands. 1 and out. The Celtics need offensive rebound.
Tinsley very tough at getting into the lane and creating some havoc and finding people just like that. Drive, draw, and kick.
A little motion. Nobody better than Miller running down low, using screens, off cuts. They go through O'Neal. He turns up over the top, and they've missed their first 3 shots now in Boston.
And the jumpers usually lead to fast breaks or open floor opportunities.
McCarty, good 3-shooter. Not this time, a little flat. But Blount with that offensive rebound. Crowd appreciates the effort, even though he missed the shot.
Well, that's that intimidation with O'Neal, too. You're not sure when he'll elevate. Can really get up big.
Tinsley forced back outside. They dump in. O'Neal coming through. And 1. Weak side help was there, but there was still a blocking foul against the Celtics.
I think the restraining line, he was within that area. Nice penetration there. That's what O'Neal can do. We saw him take the jump shot. He's very good understanding how to get himself free. They do a lot of cross screens to get him to the box area, and I think that's you can't gamble and sell out. You see the Celtics do that once in a while. You've got to stay at home. Let him catch it if you can't get a piece of it.
MVPs. In fact, if you split the vote, and Kevin Garnett is expected to win it, but if you made him the MVP of the West, I think O'Neal would probably win it in the
Eastern Conference.
He's becoming the spokesman for the Eastern Conference. We'll get into that during the
absolutely. Quite the outspoken.
Vociferous.
Artest, that's a 2.
You can't go under on him. Now, they were thinking of doing that with Tinsley, hiding behind the screen. I don't think you can do that on Ron Artest.
Well, the Celtics missed some scoring opportunities, and as a result, the Pacers taking their first lead at inside of 10 seconds. Welsh O'Neal helps. Foul goes against the Pacers.
I like to keep that open center, but the pick and roll, they do a few things different themselves now. If you go underneath against the shooter, look at the distance to cover and close out, Brent. That's impossible. A little toe on the line there, but you've got to force him to put it on the floor, fight over top, or show, or occasionally they will blitz that, doubling the dribbler.
Carlisle checking his sheet card over there. Calls the play from the sideline. First year Pacers head coach. Did a fine job with the Detroit Pistons for 2 years and was fired there. And then Larry Bird, who had Carlisle as one of his assistant coaches when he took over the basketball operations at Indiana, he quickly Carlisle and replaced Isaiah Thomas as his boss. And now Isaiah, of course, is the head basketball man of the New York Knicks. So as the world turns in the NBA, that's a way. There's a 3-second violation.
The first one. You notice that time Tinsley off the pick and roll. Atkins went over the top. So they're going to change the look as we check John Carroll out, Brent.
Yeah, the interim head coach replacing Jim O'Brien, who this week was hired as the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. O'Brien, growing up a 76er fan, playing for St. Joe's College, and so he said it's nice to go back to the team that I rooted for as a youngster. He's out of that area, and we shall see the fate of Carroll. I think most people expect that they will bring in somebody here. He's in a very tough spot. He has done a superb job in a tough situation here with the Boston Celtics, and he deserves a lot of credit. Got a bonus of $100,000 for making the playoffs, and so that is worthwhile for him. And O'Neal misses on that shot.
We'll get a few suits out of it. He can afford them now. But he's well respected for what he's been able to do. Get things in order. Nice post up. They need some inside scoring. Welsh on the money with the entry pass.
Blount, that little jump hook. The Celtics regain the lead here by one down at the 8:40 mark of the opening quarter. Boston. Of Game 5 of the NBA championship many moons ago between the Phoenix Suns and the Boston Celtics. Free ball. Welsh has got it. And this time Foster clawing all over Pierce. They have not given him much daylight so far, but he's trying to let the game come to him tonight. Not trying to do things out of the framework of the team. Running hook is short from Blount, but turn around on the inside by Walter McCarty.
And yet that wasn't a good read. Pierce is out there with Foster. They should have let him ISO. Get him into the game instead of going down deep. Fortunate to get the rebound.
Yeah, the rebound, and Bill, of course, you and I have talked about those offensive rebounds, so critical for the Celtics. They got a couple of big ones here and convert that one. O'Neal out with a high screen.
They do need some easy hoops. That's how to get them. Tough distance on that pass.
Turnover. Now let's see what Pierce does running the break. He hits Atkins in the left wing, and he throws it down. Layup.
Well, we had a chance to talk to Tommy Heinsohn before the game. He wants them to run, and they are better, this team, in the open floor opportunities. Solid start for the Celtics.
And that helps bring the crowd into the game. Had they not had a solid start, I think this crowd would have either been sitting on its hands or going out looking for a TV to check in on the Red Sox and the Yankees. But that's a solid 6-0 run.
Well, getting the post-up area, Mark Blount. A little jump hooked in nylon, but the defensive end, something they've got to button down. Take away opportunities, the quick hands in the NBA. You got to protect the ball. The big guys get raked from the top, and right here, denying the ball seam. Great denial. McCarty then, how about Pierce with the assist? They need more of it. Atkins to the 10.
Watching the NBA playoffs on ESPN.
We don't have the same depth that they have. When I go to the bench, it's a big letdown on our side because guys don't understand their roles. We don't have another 20-point scorer, and the offense, for some reason, just doesn't run as well when I'm not in the game.
Yeah, Bill Raftery said during that commercial break, great start here by the Celtics, but you keep your fingers crossed when you think about the bench. You can see the difference, of course, with Paul Pierce handing out that assist on the break. He has not scored, but the Celtics have scored, Bill, on their last 4 possessions.
Well, you might think that he's lamenting the fact that his players aren't as good, but they were with Walker a 60-point combination, and now it's a little bit different. A lot more pressure on him. He needs some assistance. Thus far, he's played within the scope, and others have stepped up.
Test being booed every time he handles the ball, and on the re-entry pass, we've got another violation. So 3-second defensive violation, and a reminder to log on to NBA.com and play Virtual GM Postseason Edition. Pick your fantasy dream team and try to beat Bill Walton's score to be eligible for great prizes. Virtual GM Postseason Edition, only on NBA.com. Bill Raftery, were you all over the Milwaukee Bucks in your postseason fantasy league the other night? Or were you as shocked as
I was so impressed. What Terry was able to do, a bounce back, the struggle the last week of the season. And then Sunday we were witness to a terrific display by Detroit, and they bounced back beautifully.
Series now moves into Milwaukee for a couple of games. Here's O'Neal on the entry turnaround for the baseline, using the glass. Very slick, smooth operator.
Great job by Reggie. You mentioned him off the basketball. He is so disconcerting, helping other people, even if he doesn't score.
Here's Welsh. He's got good speed, not afraid to slash. Cut off that time. The 3 is an air ball, and Welsh got a hand on it, but it knocked it to O'Neal. Now it is 5-on-4. Pacers with a manpower advantage. Welsh ready. So Foster gets open, left hand not there, and a strong rebound by the Celts. Atkins pounds it. Pacers are back defensively.
Foster, one of those guys. Pierce gets his first clean look.
On the 3, and O'Neal's hands.
Here's 6.5.
Pacers coming down to tie to take the lead with a 3-point. I mentioned Foster, a really offensive rebounds user. He can put it on the floor. That time got
used the rim. Nice look again.
The Celtics' hands are very active, and so too are the Pacers and the veteran Reggie Miller, who gets it right back. Here's Artest. It's tied.
Good read by Reggie. Got it right to the middle for the decision.
Welsh looking very active and away from the ball. Excuse me, Bill, it's on O'Neal.
Now, this is what you talked about earlier, Brent. His ability, Reggie, to get free. Now, watch him. His ability to drag 2 people all of a sudden opens it up, and O'Neal gets in position to do some damage. I mean, that's all because you're concerned about Reggie curling and getting the puppy set and drilling the open jumper.
That was a very big foul in this game. O'Neal has left with his second, and Harrington replaces him. Turnover, ball goes to the Pacers. But now we will begin to check in on this Pacer bench. Harrington played very well. He replaced Artest in Carlisle's starting lineup the other night. He was a solid performer, and he's a good bench performer. Tinsley to the rack.
No, that's not good defense. Got away with it.
And the lead on the Foster putback, another offensive rebound. It has been a big difference in this series.
He knows his role. Just gets in position, carves out area, and finishes it off.
Celtics have to find a way for Pierce. Atkins forced that turnover. Hit Tinsley on the break. Great pass to Harrington, who slams it down. And now the Pacers go out by 4, their biggest of the night.
Now McCarty, the only one back that should have stayed at the rim.
Celtics have to stop this 9-0 run and have to find a way to get 34 into the scoring column. They'll set a pick this time for Atkins, and Atkins flashes inside.
And that's the nice combo. That side pick and roll with Pierce. 2 guys who can drill the shot, know what to do with it on the deck. And that time getting a decent opportunity.
The difference in the series so far. Total rebounds, 95-76, but the offensive rebounds have been critical. The 9-0 run is over.
Pretty good set on the offensive end.
Tinsley fires a 3-ball.
Now you notice Atkins went behind the screen. They're going to let him prove he can knock him down.
Pierce looking for daylight. Also a great free throw shooter, so he can get a foul and get on the line. And Artest got a right hand right on the hip, and boy, Pierce goes to bed in there to brush his teeth at night. He probably looks behind him to see if Ron Artest is following him. I mean, it's unbelievable.
And once again, a nice little inbounds pass, only this time they get in front of Welsh. You guys like that as a kid, you just hope they guard somebody else in the playground.
Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Once you go home, your mom says dinner's ready. Harrington.
Remember as a kid, used to have a free out, first inbound. There's no free out. Talk to Tommy Heinz. He thinks he's the best perimeter defender he has seen. And I said, well, let me see. Sanders was pretty good.
Casey was
great. And how about lately? Rodman might be the closest thing.
Yeah, although he dropped back down on the inside a lot.
Yeah, that's true, too.
You know who I thought was a great ball defender? Was Scottie Pippen. He would get off and help defense in the heyday of the Bulls. I always thought he could do it. And Michael was probably an underrated defensive player, Bill. He could. I've seen him shut guys down when he had to. But Artest makes a living doing this. I cannot, for the life of me, figure out how that Chicago franchise would trade Ron Artest.
Well, it had to be something more. Maybe he wasn't as mature as he's become. Couldn't handle it as well. That's when he was in the throes of getting upset at referees and getting flagrant fouls on occasion. But his dad was a boxer.
He looks like
he could take a hit. I mean, he knows physically imposing, and his will to not let you shoot. I mean, 9 shots a game guys average on him generally.
So that's part of. There he is driving. He'll be on the line. He'll shoot a pair of free throws. A quick second foul on Paul Pierce. He's got 2 fouls now, and he's in foul trouble. So
not going their way
at all. But
talking about Artest, let's take a look at this.
I think it's just a shove from the rear here. It's a little nickel dimer, a little bump causes the miss, and that's there is contact. And this is he had mentioned now when you go to the bench, there's not another 20-point score, but I think they can play better together maybe without him. Don't look for one guy. Everybody combined.
Brings to mind that Donnie Walsh has done with Indiana. Let's go back to 2000 when Larry Bird was the head coach, and that team in the finals took the Lakers to a 6th game, lost a very tough playoff game. Kobe Bryant was brilliant. But for Donnie Walsh, keep this franchise in the playoffs and virtually rebuild it is one of the unsung stories of an executive in the NBA who has done a fabulous, fabulous job. Just remarkable, because look what Danny Ainge has struggled so much trying to rebuild the Celtics. McCarty fires at 3. Battle for the loose ball goes to the Pacers. 5-4, 3:55 to go. Would you agree, though?
Yeah, I'm just thinking of that in anonymity. Everybody, a great deal of respect for what Donnie's doing. He's retooled the team. The guys have gone, and yet he is right back in the picture. Obviously, 61 wins, just an extraordinary year. And it's all been his judgments, too.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans out west are not aware that the Pacers have a better record than anybody.
Should they make the finals? And that's not going to be too easy. But
should they get there, they'll have the home court advantage. That's why Harrington muscling down. I mean, this team is deep and talented. Got a timeout now.
How about Jones getting into the lane there? I mean, he's the slam dunk guy, but now his repertoire's improved. He shoots it outside, and then the bounce to ecstasy Brent, and then finds the big fella. And there's Donnie and LB.
Sitting right next to Larry Bird across the way, watching these Indiana Pacers. They're on a 13-2 run. A little frosty. The Pacers up 2 and looking smooth.
For NBA playoffs on ESPN.
On this night, the stars are out. Look at who's just to Larry Bird's right. Nomar Garciaparra on the injured list for the Boston Red Sox. And you would not say he's paying close attention to what's transpiring down in the Bronx in that series between the Red Sox and the Angels. So I think I'm going to pick the master's brain here and see what's going on, huh?
I bet they're talking about golf. What do you think?
Probably are. Probably are. Let's check in with Doris. Doris?
Well, you guys were talking earlier about Ron Artest and the fact that Paul Pierce certainly will not lack for most of the night. I asked Ron Artest what he believed were his greatest strengths as a defensive player. He said, number 1, I have good size to guard people. Number 2, I work incredibly hard with my feet. I've got good quickness. I do a good job of keeping people in front. He said the third thing is I just have a will and a determination to guard. And we wonder who the masked man is. I don't think Paul Pierce will question who this guy is. He will be certainly familiar, but coming in, playing the disguised Ron Artest. He also talked about his dad. Ron Artest Sr. played one-on-one with him his entire childhood growing up. He said, I learned not to get discouraged when somebody scored on me, to just keep being persistent, guys. He certainly is that.
And the offense has improved from 13 to 18. And another Anthony Johnson. Jones is out there also for Indiana. Foster has stayed on, and he fouls Blount, who will shoot a pair of free throws.
Nice job coming out of the timeout, getting inside, getting Blount to the free throw line. And the one thing about Artest to finish his defense off, he doesn't want a guy to catch the ball, Brent. And right here, an easy entry as Foster doesn't get in deny position, a little pump fake, he bites, and an opportunity to knock two down.
For the Celtics, Ricky Davis.
Their leading bench player is 0 for 1, and Austin Crozier, and coach very flattering when he talked about Crozier today. He said here's a young man who could be starting for a number of teams in the NBA. Doesn't get too many minutes with us, but he's always working, and when he's gone in, he's won, did he say 10 games?
He said between 6 and 10. I asked Ronnie Boston, he said at least 10 before they Ronnie, the assistant. Nice entry pass here, at least the look.
Couldn't finish. Celts come off. Headman now is Davis. He's tough.
And one. Woo! Get it down the floor, Celtic style. Great use of the bounce. Protecting on the crossover. Gets a blow. Larry obviously regaled the people here during his playing day, but I just love, give it up, let the guy have time to make a decision. The step across, use the rim to protect, and the finish.
Davis pulls the Celts to within 2 points. 2:45 here in the opening quarter. This is game 3. The Eastern Conference playoffs, best of 7 in the first round. They've been for a couple of years.
He likes to bounce a guy down. They're going to run a double when they can. Davis sort of looking to rake.
4 on the shot. Artest has got to fire. Celts ball. They can tie or take the lead. Well, tomorrow on TNT, Miami at New Orleans at 1 p.m. Miami leading that series 2-0. Then Detroit, Milwaukee, even at a victory apiece, 3:30, and that series shifts to Milwaukee. We haven't had too much sparkling outside shooting, but inside's where the action is.
Just a great job on the side pick and roll. The slip to the goal. Blount begged and was acknowledged. Great look, and he had great patience under the tip.
Raft there 0 for 8 from beyond the arc in this game so far. And Artest turned it over. Traveled.
Welsh has done a nice job, both in the post and on the perimeter against Ron Artest.
Atkins, McCarty, Welsh, Davis, and Blount. Pierce out with 2 fouls. Welsh works the baseline, and late whistle. Foul against Indiana.
Well, that's the benefit of being able to shoot the ball. You get a guy closing out, somewhat out of control. You can put it on the deck and get yourself to the free throw line. They've really spread the floor beautifully, the Celtics. I like their approach today, Brent. Much more relaxed. We know the second half is what's going to dictate the outcome of this game as the benches get more thoroughly involved. And of course, he's resting with those 2 fouls, too.
And the Celtics go ahead 20-18 on an 8-0 run. It's been a game of runs here in the early going. Harrington wants it low on Blount. Bumps off, right baseline, no. Battle underneath, though, and again, the Pacers and Artest underneath.
And Brent, that's a will rebound. He just collapsed the defense. Great body strength, carving a lot of area. Ooh, nice play on the trap and the rotation.
Turned it over. Johnson kicks to Crozier, gets it right back. Harrington is fouled by Blount.
And McCarty just opened up Main Street on the baseline. gets his big guy in a foul situation. You got to close it off, get some topside help. There's the number again, sneaking up. The ability to get second opportunity, so important to the Pacers.
47 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. Carlisle in the background.
And Ronnie Rustin alongside Rick Carlisle had been in Miami, Detroit with Chuck years ago. Finding a home there. You really feel comfortable with yourself when you can hire a former head coach.
Exactly.
You got guys that really been down. They can impart so much wisdom.
Well, my favorite staff was Larry Bird's at Indiana. Just 2 assistants, Carlisle and Dick Harder. He didn't want anybody else. One for offense, one for defense. He used to joke.
Keep it simple, right? And it worked all the way to the finals.
Dick, of course, will follow Jim O'Brien to the staff of the 76ers. Superb coach.
Got to catch that. Not a bad play. Davis almost turned the ankles of Harrington. Whew.
Inside of 10 on the shot.
And here's the down and 3 series looking for a jump shot or Artest one-on-one.
Artest going up over Davis. 10 points for Ron Artest in the opening quarter. And Indiana builds a 3-point lead. 43 points here in the opening quarter. And the Indiana Pacers, up by 2, are looking for a stranglehold. The Celtics, on the other hand, are determined to make a stand at home tonight.
Watching 20th Century Fox's presentation of ESPN's Play Like There's No Tomorrow.
Welcome back to the Fleet Center, where the Celtics find themselves down 3. And Robert Parrish, 184 playoff games to your credit, 4 world championships. I guess you're here for destination finals. Tell us what that's all about.
Well, I'm here on behalf of the NBA to convey to the fans that this is the best time of the season, the playoffs. This is where the reputations are made and rivalries are established. So this is the best time to be watching basketball.
Well, you've got a very young Celtics team, an organization you played for many years. As young as they are, what would you tell these young players at this time of year? What do they have to be prepared for?
First of all, they got to be more aggressive. Got too many turnovers. They got to take better care of the basketball, do a much better job of rebounding, and just come out and be aggressive.
Your former teammate Larry Bird said he would never coach. He coached the Indiana Pacers. Now he is team president. Is it bizarre to see him in another franchise?
Yes, it is. It's quite different, you know, but Larry will always be a Celtic at heart, and I'm glad he's done a good job for the Pacers.
Robert, we wish you the best. Thanks for joining us. And Bill, I'm sure the Celtics would love to have the Chief in uniform tonight.
They certainly use his low post presence, his jump shot. His ability. Sounds like a coach too, Brett, doesn't he?
Well, yeah.
Don't turn it over. Good. Rebound. Be tough.
7 turnovers in that opening quarter by the Celtics, and the second chance points. The Pacers with 11 and the Celts with 4 as Harrington opens the second quarter with that turnaround jump shot, and the foul is against Indiana. So there goes the Chief, and indeed he could help them with his low block presence in a situation like this.
Well, you got to kick that. Red Auerbach's behind us on one side, Larry Bird's on the other. First time they've been at odds ever, I think. Look at the runs. Indiana tune it up a little bit, and then the Celtics counter with that 8-0.
Banks is on the floor now. He complained about the lack of minutes following game 2, Marcus Banks. So that means that Coach Carroll has gone 70. Davis and Banks are the only 2. There he is. There's the legend up there behind us.
He's talking about his book that'll be coming out eventually. He said he's got room for many more books, so hopefully we'll be able to hear from him as we go on. And Blount's been very steady under the rim.
Yes, he has. Blount pulls the Celtics to within 3, 25-22. Bender on the floor for the Pacers, runs through, missed the shot. Crozier, though, with another offensive rebound. Blount blocks it. Harrington gets it and puts it in.
Too many opportunities. Jonko turns back here. They don't value the ball. They've really had their problems, but they got to do a better gang rebound.
Deep to Banks.
By the way, the old days, you think a rookie would complain about minutes in the playoffs? I mean, unless you were, pretty well established.
That's why he's not getting minutes. He just turned it over and one on Harrington.
The other way
against him.
You know what he did? He dribbled into the running path. One of those plays, generally you might get the call. I'm sure Larry would have been a little bit upset, although he's got great composure, as he did on the sideline. And right here, just watch him move left here, Brent. See, he takes the pass. A good call. No question about it. And Blount hustling back, gets it in his favor. And Harrington, that's something you do in the schoolyard, and generally you might get away with if you just rush. But once you lean and move the guy out of his path, you're going to get nailed for it.
Critical part of this, though, was Banks performing badly here on the top. And the foul goes against Indiana's Johnson. Out of bounds sideline.
Second team foul. And Banks, you mentioned one of those guys that can really get in the lane. That's what he should do. Get in, distribute, find things, and guard at the other end.
Jones tries to load Blount, but Jermaine O'Neal back on the floor does a good job defensively, denies the entry. Davis up firing. It's a 2 over Bender. Good tough shot, and the lead is 3.
And Brent, they really played great defense, Indiana, initially containing their guy. Bender did a great job. Didn't close out at the end.
Foul is on Banks, and there's no business fouling Johnson out there.
Can't score when it's on the deck. Just move the legs. You mentioned John. I just love his composure watching tape. Really, the worst title you can have is interim. You got a lot of responsibility.
Probably no appreciation
for it.
But he has done a nice job counseling and putting his team into the playoffs.
Snags the rebound. Blount to the corner with the pass. Davis loses it, trying to drive to the rim, and it's 3-on-1, an easy hoop on the outlet by Harrington. And Ricky Davis did a bad job up here offensively.
Well, when you turn it over to foul line up, and that's what's happened to the Celtics, they have really had their problems where it turns over. They're running a guard through. There's a one-guard defense. You got to value the ball, Brent Musburger.
Indeed, Raph. So Harrington has all 6 of Indiana's points this quarter.
Right there, the turnover dilemma. Unfortunately, Brent, it leads to runouts.
So it's game 3. It's the Celtics and the Pacers are up by 5.
And presentation of the NBA playoffs brought to you by the new Sprite Remix variant. And Kia Motors. Yeah, make every count.
This update brought to you by Taco Bell. Kevin Frazier, Stephen A. Smith in the studio. NBA Commissioner David Stern denied a protest filed by the Knicks. They were upset about 2 clock stoppages in the final minute 50 of Game 3, that game that they lost to the New Jersey Nets. Why file that protest, Stephen?
Well, they're filing it, number 1, because they felt that the New Jersey Nets got 14 extra seconds of offensive basketball, and number 2, and more importantly, that wasn't the Knicks timekeeper. The timekeepers are set by the league during playoff time. That's what the Knicks had a problem with more than anything else, because their guy didn't make a mistake. It was the league's guy.
They lose the game no matter what. Let's head back to Boston.
Brent, love you, my man. Love you.
The feeling is mutual.
Do you remember the great Fitzy Brody used to keep the clock in the garden?
That's right.
He used to say he Fitzy'd you.
Oh,
you know, a little...
he was a beauty, wasn't he?
Oh, he was the best.
Oh, yes. Well, we mentioned the bench, and I think the graphic tells you the story here of the difference in it. Here tonight, remember Jermaine O'Neal was out for a considerable amount of time with 2 fouls. Well, Indianapolis outscored the Celtics 17-12 when he was on the bench. Now, we've talked about turnovers, Bill, and the Rafts have turned it over. The Celtics have turned it over 4 times in their last 7 possessions.
Well, it's a good sign now. They got Pearson, Bob. As soon as he got him into the game, nice movement around the rim. He's got to come off screens and also go directly at his guy. And of course, Artest Nice rollout here.
Bender and Lowe and one. Pierce was on the bench for a little over 7 minutes because of 2 fouls. So So here's John. You know what's interesting, Raph, around the league? And one of the things that has changed so much with the coaching staffs, and when you see Bender and O'Neal reminded me of it a little bit earlier tonight, how much more coaching has to go on in terms of fundamentals at the NBA level because of these youngsters who come directly from high school, as Bender did out of high school in Mississippi. You're working with a raw product, and so you really have to have coaches who deal just with that. I know that you were in Detroit's practice. You watched them work with Millicent after the regular practice.
Well, that's why there's so many more coaches on the staff, too. A lot of individual drills and skill sessions as Pierce once again gets a good look, and he can make that. Bender's got to close that a little bit quicker. But O'Neal was telling both of us it's such a mental period, the adjustment from senior year in high school to the NBA. And here he is in right position. They got the hold, I believe, on Jones underneath.
Yeah, it's tough. And what was his coach said he came out with a brother and a couple of his friends, Jermaine O'Neal, out to Portland. You remember now, Rick Carlisle was an assistant coach when he came out there. And he went over to the house to visit him one night. He said the refrigerator was a little barren.
Not much there. And, of course, that developed a friendship which ensued here with the Pacers. Isaiah left, and, of course, he's here. He knew him. He went to the Newell camp with him in Hawaii as he get the turnaround jumper. That's why he is so tough. He can face up, and he can put his back. He's comfortable with his back to the basket.
That's a 16-6 run. Well, I'll tell you something else about Jermaine O'Neal, and he shocked me. He knew the stats, folks. He has averaged 22 points a game against the Western Conference and 19 points a game against the Eastern Conference. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. Pierce on the drive. There is Jermaine O'Neal. O'Neal, of course, is lobbying long and hard, and he says the media is giving the Eastern Conference this year way too much credit, that we're just as good as they are, and he has been keeping it up, and he's got his numbers down. And here's Bender stepping outside now, nailing the 3, and again the depth of the Indiana Pacers. It's now 37-26.
Boy, they can hurt you in a hurry. Go to the bench. No letdown. He beat you inside earlier, Bender, and then the jumper.
You know, Raph, there's a lot of folks around the league who think that Indiana's bench is the best in the NBA. You might be right. Basically a non-playing member of the Portland Trailblazers. Just did not get much playing time. Then he moved on to Indiana, and he is well on his way to becoming one of the elite performers. And you were very impressed when you talked to this young man, how mature he seemed. And, you know, you asked him about the friendship with Ron Artest, and how did that develop?
He said he felt when he was a young guy that maybe people didn't reach out enough for him. He last year stepped up, embraced him as this season started. They started bowling together. Harrington and he are great bowlers. Bender as well. They bring him to dinners, to shows. All of a sudden, there's a great rapport, and it shows to me on this end of the floor. They really get after you. And Pierce trying to back Johnson down, and they don't double a whole lot. They really contain guys themselves, which doesn't break their defense down.
What kind of a bowler is Reggie Miller?
He said, forget it. The Reggie Bowl is a mystery. He's an alley man. But they raise a lot of money for charity. Michelle Tafoya was telling us so many great stories about Reggie the other night and what he's done for people in the Indy area.
7 on the shot clock for the Celtics. And there's Kenny Anderson. You know, we're talking about the bench. You see Kenny over there. You know, he probably would be, do you think, the starting point guard for the Celtics? That's, you know, a very good chance. I mean, he doesn't give any minutes for Indiana. That's how deep this bench goes.
He was the starting point guard here, when you think of it, right?
Yeah, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, so he and Walker.
Sure.
And Pierce, as Atkins has got to get going.
I don't want to take it away from Atkins, because he really has played well for the Celtics since Danny Ainge picked him up.
But you think of it, that's the third point guard. How many teams have 3? They're very deep at that spot with Johnson, of course, and Jamal Tinsley as well.
Johnson's 3 on the money.
Now his agent, Richard Howell, got Mark Price to work on his shot, to step in, bend the derriere, which comes easier for both of us, be ready to step into your shot. He's really improved his outside shooting.
Against the Pacers. Well, tonight the second half of the NBA playoff doubleheader continues on ESPN. We'll see what happens with the Lakers.
2-0 on the Rockets.
Series moves to Houston. That'll be coming your way right after this game, and I'm sure that Kevin and Stephen A. will preview that game at halftime, intermission of this one. The Lakers escaping as the Rockets could not close the deal. In game one, Pierce loses it, yanked away by Jones, and here comes Tinsley.
That's one of those turnovers you can't have when you're the man, as Bender gets an open look in the early.
To Pierce. Pierce trying to drive in behind Bender. Woo! Blocked beautifully by Jones.
Big elevation.
Tinsley, open 20-footer.
Where is the D? Well, Atkins was back balancing and never got out. That's a layup in the NBA.
Pierce. Misses Harrington.
Atkins didn't cleanly catch that basketball.
12 on the shot. And we've got a timeout here with the Pacers slowly seizing control on a 24-8 run right now.
Get it out of Dodge, Brent. Nothing easy inside against the Pacers.
Pierce without a headband. Rick Carlisle, his first season with the Indiana Pacers. Back in 2002, head coach of the Detroit Pistons, the coach of the year. 3 Central Division titles. He winds up being fired. He is in heavy discussions with ESPN to become a television analyst. Within about 24 hours, and then Larry Bird takes over. The Pacers calls him and says, hold up on that TV. I may have a bench job for you. Now, today I asked him, Rick, how have you changed since you were the head coach of the Detroit Pistons? And the one area that I've ever heard criticism about him in the communication area with some of his players. And sometimes he would rub players the wrong way in his early days. But tonight, talking to Jermaine O'Neal and some of the other Pacers, we get the feeling that he's been a superb communicator with this team this year. And that would probably come from more confidence from the young man. Very smart, an outstanding pianist. One of the best coaches in the NBA. He has kept all this talent healthy. That's sometimes a very difficult thing to do. Jermaine O'Neal, you might remember when Isaiah Thomas was let go, he was quite outspoken. But Carlisle was able to win him over, and now Jermaine, of course, dating back from the days of Portland, he leads the Rick Carlisle fan club, if you will. And the man has done just a superb job. Probably has not received much credit. You know, Hubie Brown, there's no argument, but Larry Brown loves having him there, and Larry Bird, I should say.
Larry Brown moved up, of course, to take over the Detroit Pistons. The Bird-Carlisle tandem. Bird actually wanted Carlisle to replace him when he left as head coach. Thomas was hired by the team, and the Celtics will get the ball wrapped.
The feeling the pieces fit sometimes too.
Yep.
And you may say, well, you haven't changed here or there, but I think anytime you coach in this league, you learn to make adjustments, whether it's the way you deliver your scouting report or you deal with a situation. And I think, as you mentioned, he's a very smart guy. And defensively, this team has picked up a lot of things from him. I think they're an excellent team defender, and I think that's one of the reasons Ron Artest got the Defensive Player of the Year, because they're so good team-wise. It assists his philosophy as a player, Ron Artest. And there we go. Hank, check those out. That'll get you to the winner's circle.
Absolutely.
Second chance points here, disastrous against the Celtics right now.
Artest up over Pierce, knocks it down. The Celtics, meanwhile, have missed 7 of their last 8 shots. The crowd is starting to lose faith here with 4:11 to go in the opening half. The Pacers have solidly seized control. There's been nothing fluky about this.
Just great defense leading the runouts, quality pass, and the giveaway.
Davis knocks Harrington down, and quickly Reggie Miller runs in to help him out.
Wow. Just a great rotation. Tinsley made that play. And the upper body strength that we certainly can't relate. Take the hit and still finish it off. Oh, my goodness. Big Al. Taking it on the chin.
The city of Boston, of course, is mourning the demise of the Boston Bruins, who had opened up a 3-1 lead on the Montreal Canadiens and lost it. They were knocked out of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now the Celtics are in deep trouble against the Indiana Pacers, but as Davis drives in for the layup.
And they do a nice job clearing aside and letting the guys with the bounce take advantage. Explosive blow by Davis.
But there are still the Red Sox. And with Nomar watching basketball tonight, the latest we heard, the Red Sox led the Yankees 1-0 down at the stadium as O'Neal goes in for the deuce against Chris Mim.
And that's that gamble I alluded to earlier. Mim has a habit of trying to steal the entry that far away. You've got to use better judgment, get in defensive position, and contain.
Artest ties Mim up. Artest is just unbelievable in getting the bat. His anticipation of going for the ball, Raft, is something.
It's just extraordinary. He's always in the right position. He's in a stance, understands the rules of team defense, and also adds that dimension of controlling his guy.
When we asked Carlisle what makes him so good, he really goes back to the mental. He said, you know, he's got all the physical assets. He said sometimes quickness can cause him a little trouble, but he said he's just so determined to do a job on whoever he's matching up against.
Takes it personal.
Yes, he does.
Well, they are really wired on the defensive end. Here's telling everybody where to go. Mim's got to go back if he can get it.
Letting Reggie out there exert his leadership. Great veteran. Atkins has it tapped now. 3-11 here in the first half. Cardi steps in.
Nice extra pass by Atkins. Real solid. Got the bite on the pump fake. And a quick timeout here by Rick Carlisle.
50-32. Determined to break its 6-game playoff losing streak in Boston.
To the 2004 NBA playoffs on ESPN.
Coming up in moments on the Toyota Halftime Show, we'll preview the second game of our double dip, the Lakers and Rockets. And Chris Berman will join us with a preview of the NFL Draft. There's not much to say about this basketball game, but you're excited about the draft, aren't you?
I am. It'll be interesting to see where Eli Manning ends up. It's not going to be in San Diego. I don't think Marty Schottenheimer is really an offensive-minded football coach.
All I got to say is the Jets need some help. But then again, I say that every year.
Good point.
How about my guys breaking down a little football?
We're football fans.
And we'll talk basketball at halftime. Let's go back to Brent.
Unbelievable. Is this game that? Hi, guys. Talking little football. Of course, the draft tomorrow. And the Super Bowl champion, New England Patriots, so big in this particular area. And they may have filled one of their greatest needs when they signed Corey Dillon, the running back away from Cincinnati. So that fills a need. And now that front office can look for help elsewhere tomorrow at the draft.
Jumping back to basketball here for a moment.
I'm sorry.
I'm just thinking of Pierce. You know, we had a shot during the timeout there. You know, he's got to get a little enthusiastic, and there's a lot expected of him. And of course, they're keen defensively on him. But he's got to step up, get this team back in it. With these kind of plays, it's very hard. Back screen by Tinsley, and send it in. Super Al, huh? Can he elevate? Six-man.
He was out of New Jersey, was he?
St. Patrick's High School. Kevin Boyle was his coach. My last scholarship, by the way, before I got smart and got with guys like you, was his high school coach. High school two-man played him in.
Was there ever a chance that he was going to go to college, or was he, do you think?
He was thinking of Seton Hall if he stayed. And obviously very mature physically at a young age. And very well prepared, I think, for this level.
Yeah, Pierce, 1 of 7. Great pass by Davis, and Atkins finishes.
At the finish with Harrington, Antonio Davis took it upon himself to bring him into his house, to bring him along at that young age and really teach him what to do and what not to do. That's very essential. I think Kevin McHale did a lot of the similar things in Minnesota for Garnett as well. I mean, just to teach them the right way to behave and to take care of themselves.
What Ainge liked about him, snaring a rebound.
I think there's more there than he has shown this franchise. He's a pretty good shooter. He's got this game. That's a nice little use of the left hand. And he's got a pump now. O'Neal, a message. Rejection.
So the goaltending makes it 52-38 as we remind you now, Sunday afternoon, it'll be Game 4. You're going to see Game 3 in this series after we leave. And then Game 4 moves to ABC. That's Sunday at 3 Eastern. Alan Dock will be along with that one. And there's a pushing foul underneath.
I think it may have been Davis. It could have been anybody. They went to their matchup zone there. They got what they wanted. It was unnecessary to foul. You got to miss a jumper like that. Just seal the deal. Get the rebound, go the other way.
You wonder about Reggie Miller as I look at him standing out. He's kept himself in such great physical condition. And when we asked Carlisle if he thought this might be the swan song for Reggie, Rick wasn't too sure. I think he thinks that Reggie still might try to play another year. Well, I sort of had that indication, but Rick said, he wasn't sure, but he said he thinks Reggie's still got a lot left.
Well, he was operated for those bone spurs during the summer, and he rehabbed that Pepperdine. And he became very friendly with the players there, but he did all their drills. He didn't play with them. He did all the conditioning, the slides, all of those, ran the stairs, and he's kept in contact with them. He is physically ready to play. He's not shooting the ball quite as well as he used to, but he creates so much havoc on offense by running off screens and getting doubles. People bounce out on him. A very extraordinary understanding of the angles to prepare yourself for the catch, plus his teaching aspect, his leadership qualities. So the last thing he said was, as long as he wants to be here, we want him.
Yeah, exactly. You get that core of veterans with the youngsters. It really helps Davis. And O'Neal is there to bat him away. Davis with the 3 misfires. And doubling up on Mim, Artest yanks the ball away.
They're running the screen and roll against the matchup. Nice
man made a fine defensive play with the left hand. And on the breakout, there's a foul against the Pacers. It's against Tinsley. What's your feeling about Tinsley as the point man? Rick's going to use a 30 here.
Oh, they're real happy with his play. I mean, he runs the team. He's going to get better.
As a shooter, as he works at it. And he's got great confidence. His team has great confidence in him. Obviously, there's some shortcomings, but I think one of them, they can slide behind that screen. He'll get better at making that.
Indiana holding on to a lead. Celtics trying to get Eastern Conference brackets, and home team dominated in the big surprise, of course, between 3 and 6. Milwaukee breaking through, and now that series moves to Milwaukee. Your feeling about the Heat going down to New Orleans?
Well, they played very well
of late. Lamar Odom, I think, said I'm a great Wade fan from his days at Marquette. Just a sensational. They're going to him to win games. I mean, the rookie. So they've really stepped up their basketball. Grant's played very well. They're not big. Eddie Jones has been around. Obviously, a very talented guy. We're talking about Reggie, a guy that can use screens as well, but he's very good with the bounce.
Now here in this game, the Celtics, of course, hoping to be within 10. They're down 13 if they could get it back and jack a 3 here. But they must stop the Pacers. They milk down that shot clock inside of 10, eating seconds up Tinsley. He had an open look, but he found Crozier on the outside. Air ball, Pierce got 16 seconds. Celtics got a chance now to cut in. And at least they'll have something to build on at the intermission. Last shot time. Carroll slows it back down. Let's see what Pierce does. 5 on the shot. Matched against Artest, who knocks it away out of bounds. 2.6 on the shot. And I think Carlisle thought the ball was off Pierce.
He may have been right, but I thought Pierce dribbled the ball too much. Should have given it up. Mim was underneath with Crozier. They should have taken advantage of that. Tough to beat Artest with the bounce.
2-6. Here's McCarty. Deep 3. Off to the left. Time runs out on the first half. And in that second quarter, the Pacers shot 59%. 30 points scored and 21 by Larry Bird's bench. So the Indiana Pacers put 53 up, 93 points in the first half. We check in with Doris.
Al, this game was close after the first period. The Celtics only trailed by 3. You got some separation here in the second quarter. What happened?
Man, we started to execute. You know, we got stops and we were able to get out on the break and finish on the break.
You had an extremely efficient first half, 7 of 9 from the floor. What made you successful?
Man, I got a lot of dunks because, we're playing great D and I was just running in transition. I just got to make some free throws.
Thanks, Al. Good luck in the second half.
Thanks, Doris. And coming up on the Toyota Halftime Show, Kevin Frazier and the gang are in the studio. Lakers-Rockets preview and then NFL Draft preview. Chris Berman will come along. The big day tomorrow, Madison Square Garden, high noon in the NFL. And here, the Pacers lead the Celtics by 13.
Leading the way for the Indiana Pacers with 15 points and basically just too much firepower for the guys from the Heartland. They're up by 13 at the half. The Indiana Pacers close the half on a 24-14 run, leading the way. Well, one of the guys, Jermaine O'Neal, 9.6 rebounds. Boston in trouble because they desperately need to win this game. Welcome back inside our Times Square studio. We'll hear from the guys in just a moment. I swear they're going to talk this halftime in just a second. But, the second game of our double dip, it's the Lakers and Rockets facing a 2-0 deficit. For more on that game, we go from the Toyota Halftime Show to the Toyota Center and check in with Mike Tirico.
Kevin, thank you. With all these series 2-0 or 3-0, we're testing the adages of playoff basketball. Either you believe that there's no chance the Rockets can win 4 or 5 against the Lakers, or if you live here in Houston, you say series doesn't start till the road team wins a game. Houston, to protect home court, has to have a huge game from their huge man, Yao Ming.
I don't think there's any question that tonight's game is a situation where Yao has got to show some dominance. Van Gundy has shown over the first 2 games that he's going to give him touches and opportunities to be a good player. Earlier in the season, Shaq covered him with some space, and with space, Yao can find answers. But in the playoffs, he's bodying him. He's much closer. He's challenging him with his lower body, and he doesn't let him have much space. Every shot is contested with the lower body and usually a hand. And I think right now you got Yao, who in the regular season had a great year for a second-year basketball player, but now in the playoffs, he is struggling. 15 points, 40%. His rebounding is down. But just remember, this is his first playoff series, and he is playing against probably the greatest center ever to play in the NBA.
Well, I think what we're finding out right now is Yao's trying to find his playoff legs, and Shaq's the guy that doesn't need to find his playoff legs. He's the guy that's won championships, not only won championships, in each of the 3 championships they've won, he has been the MVP in the final. And you look at that, coming off bad games albeit that was 7 years ago against the Jazz. What does that tell you? That he doesn't have very many bad playoff games at all. And when he does, he usually responds. So I would expect Shaq to give a dominant effort tonight. And that being said, I wouldn't look for a dominant effort just as far as points goes. When you look at Shaq right now, it's a total picture. Defending Yao, grabbing rebounds, being a defensive monster, and scoring a little bit. And I expect a complete game from Shaq.
You think Shaq's looking for something different? Let's share some tape from 2.5 hours before tip. Here's Shaquille O'Neal out practicing free throws and warming up. You rarely see that at a Laker game. Patrick Ewing came out and said, I've never seen this before. The Rockets assistant coach will see his man Yao Ming go up against Shaq when we see you after the Pacers and Celtics for Game 3 from the Toyota Center in Houston.
Mike, thanks a lot.
Wait a minute. I thought George Call and Tom Tolbert worked for ESPN, not UPS. What's up with their outfits? Identical outfits? What part of the game is that?
Okay, can we talk about basketball?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right,
man.
talk about this series in Game 3 and what the Rockets have to do to get on the board.
Well, I think one, they're going to have to establish Yao Ming. He's going to come out and do much like he did in Game 1, really establish the tempo and try to dominate the paint. And also, Steve Francis, Cuttino Mobley, going to have to do a little bit better job in terms of managing the basketball game when they decide to score and when to involve the big man.
Steve Francis and Cuttino Mobley, get the ball inside to the big boy, Yao Ming, and hopefully he'll feed it back out to you. Inside out, not outside in. Just remember that strategy. You should be fine.
Phil Jackson has never lost a playoff series when his team is up 2 games and 16-0.
He ain't about to lose this one.
That's what I was going to say. It doesn't bode well for the guys from Houston.
That's why they play the game.
That's why they play the game.
You're absolutely right.
That's why Boston trying to play the game right now. Ain't helping them much.
Game's on the way.
This halftime show is presented by the all-new Toyota Tundra Double Cab. Not just big, life-sized. NBA playoffs on ESPN.
And the playoffs are coming to you in high definition from Boston here tonight. Game 3 of the series.
The Celtics and the Indiana Pacers with Bill Raftery. I'm Brent Musburger. Nice to have you along with us. And Raft, if there's any difference between these two teams, it is over in that bench area. Al Harrington has led the way. He's led all scorers with 15 points here tonight.
Deep, long, quality guys that can play facing the basket underneath. And you're right. I mean, they are alone. They go to the bench. They don't lose anything. And this is one of the runouts they had to bang there against Harrington. Maybe the only mistake they made. Step and get. And Bender, who can take you inside and decimate the D, or get the puppy set deep and counter with a tray. And they are playing beautifully.
Harrington with 15. Bender contributed 8. He was 3 of 5 off of that bench. But Harrington was the ringleader when Jermaine O'Neal picked up 2 quick fouls. Now, a couple of numbers to keep in mind. Second chance points. The Pacers with 16 in the first half. The Celtics with only 4. Turnovers. The Celtics with 10. The Pacers with 5. Offensive rebounds. Pacers with 8. And the Celtics with 3. There's your key differences.
And Brent, they pressure the ball, something they haven't done all half. Right now, it's up to Paul Pierce. I think he is their talented performer. He's got to step up, show a lot of enthusiasm, and that leadership quality they need so badly now as they try and get back in this.
Tess puts it on the floor with 7 on the shot.
That's
tried to bounce it, and there's the hustle play. Go to the floor. It's a jump ball. And we go to Doris Burke. Doris?
Well, Brent, you just touched on something that was the focal point in the Boston locker room. Rebounding, in particular, the 8 offensive boards they gave up to the Indiana Pacers, resulting in 16 points off those second chance opportunities. And then the 10 turnovers. They just said, hey, we need to value the basketball. I know, Bill, that was a theme of yours in the first half.
Yeah, make sure you get shots. I think it's very important. Maybe you can get some offensive rebounds. And also, you balance the floor when you get good shots. You can't stop talented teams when you turn it over from the foul line out. Little shot clock discrepancy now. They're trying to get organized. But that little loose ball, that's what you want. Get down on the floor. Show some energy. I mean, they need this house behind them.
The biggest lead the Pacers held in the opening half is 20 points. The Celtics have whittled it down to 13. And so far, the Celtics need some help from outside the perimeter. And
he caught his own. He tipped it. Yeah, I haven't seen that in years. A little bit of smile. He had an open jumper as well. Is that the only way you'd win a jump against him, I think?
But the Celtics 0 of 8 shooting threes, and Paul Pierce is having a nightmare in this series.
And the denial, the deflection, the long arm. Ron Artest positions himself. He's got the strength to hold you with the hand in the back as well. Really denies in an extraordinary fashion.
I saw in the scroll at halftime, Bill, that Antoine Jamison of Dallas had won the 6th-man award, but Al Harrington was a strong second-place finisher.
As he should be, right? In the hunt.
I like Ginobili myself.
Yeah, another good one.
Davis up firing.
They need somebody to ring the bell.
Now it's down to 11.
Trying to get it down inside 10. Celtics have to play tough D, and they do again.
That's much better. And it's showing like that. It is the playoffs. It is important.
I think Nomar Garcia-Parra has decided to watch. Arbak's back for the second half, but Nomar, he's up watching the Red Sox beat up on the Yankees right now.
Well, as you would expect, right?
Right.
Nice
That's spot 3. It's 6-0 Bo Sox over the Yankees. It's in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Nice
stolen by Foster.
Boy, did he open up beautifully. Take away the passing lane. Tough look here.
Bad pass, a turnover. The Celtics They've got a chance to fall down inside of 10 here. You know, the opening minutes of that second half can be so critical when you're trying to come from behind. And overall, this is a 10-1 Boston run right now.
I think they need the dribble drive, and then they got to create. If Atkinson could all the way find, if not, find somebody.
They go to the pick and roll, and Blount nails it.
Just like that, huh, John Carroll? Maybe a little juice in that halftime speech.
Shades of Stockton to Malone. Knock the J down, Big Carl. The test out beyond the line. Pierce is there.
Nice, great job.
Short on that shot again, but Foster tracks it down.
Atkins did a nice job just putting the hand down there and digging, and Foster, as he does frequently, hits that glass.
Pacers trying to snap this 12-1 run. Tinsley's three. Air ball off O'Neal. Save McCarty. Here come the Celts. Atkins thought about it, but Reggie jumped him, and so it'll be McCarty. He'll put it down. Past Artest. Nice pass to Blount for the lay-in.
How about the patience? Both big guys, and the ability to shoot the ball. You got to run out on McCarty, and then the bounce to the delight of this crowd, and Blount with the finish.
The finishing touches, Billy, on his 14-1 run.
While they dragged the D with the bounce, the open jumper by Blount, and why not get around the rim? Because Walter's going to the altar. A nice little dish, and Blount just so relaxed and comfortable in traffic with the finish.
The Celtics, desperate for a win, battling back.
EMC, we are professional grade. Right Guard Extreme. Get extreme. Get the power stripe. And Van Helsing. On May 7th, the adventure lives forever.
The Boston Celtics have made 8 of their last 11 shots. They have cut that 20-point margin down to 7 as Indiana has missed the last 7 shots.
Finding the right way to do it, and Walter's been solid. I just love the hustles. They came out. They had the full court press. They backed it off. Of course, he's been here through it all, the good and the bad, and sometimes the unattractive. But Walter with good decision-making, his ability to shoot, sucks that defense to him.
Some pressure in the backcourt, and now it's down to 16 on that shot as the Pacers set their offense. Reggie Miller's been very quiet here tonight. He's 0 of 2 from the field. Giving it to Tinsley.
Nails the three-point basket. Tinsley now
1 of 3 beyond the arc.
Now that's a pro. I mean, he airballed one earlier. The confidence to stick it. A little dagger.
Paul Pierce 1 of 7 from the field here tonight. But Reggie, while he's not been scoring, that was his 5th assist on the game. Ricky can't get it back, and it's in the Miller's hand.
Can they sustain that energy? That's what they have to do to Celts, and he gets back to running their stuff for the Pacers.
Neal spins inside and 1.
Oof. Very active for the big guy. He was out on the left in a double screen situation, and once the ball went right, a good anticipation as they cut. The help leaves him just enough that Blount can't recover. A little swipe and a chance for 3. Real solid judgment cutting to the hoop.
He's 5 of 9 from the field. And at the line, he's now
2 of 4, 12 points for the night, 6 total
rebounds. Remember, 2 early fouls, none since. He has 1 assist, and he's turned it over once, and he's blocked 1 shot. Jermaine O'Neal.
Nice job pulling the little switch. They're using Blount, the big guy, not as good help defensively. And Pierce got by Artest.
Pierce's 2nd field goal of the night, only 4 points. He has been unable to get to the free throw line. Reggie Miller fires a 3-ball.
Well, you know, if you relax on him, he's going to drill it. They use the screen as he's done all throughout his career beautifully. That time a double.
What a tribute to Ron Artest's defense that Pierce has not been on the free throw line yet today. Screen Artest. Pierce comes over. That did it. So it was Blount who freed him from Artest that time, and Pierce has hit his last 2 shots to make it an 8.
A pretty good decision getting Blount involved in the screen. The assistant's not quite as good. They got the block there as Artest used that big shoulder.
And on Paul Pierce, that's his 3rd, as we remind you to get an all-access look at the NBA playoffs. Tune into the NBA TV playoff show, Destination Finals, every weeknight on NBA TV. Seven on the shot for Pierce. A 2, air ball. And the crowd lets him know it.
And once again, going under the screen on Tinsley, really forced that wide pass.
Atkins puts it down on the runner against Indiana.
Some nice wrinkles. A little clear out for Atkins on the left side there. The defense didn't respond, didn't have good vision on the penetration.
Well, Carroll is a good basketball man. You go back with him, Raft. You certainly have known Carroll through the years.
Well, he was a college coach at Bloomfield in New Jersey. When I was at Seton Hall, he tried to steal all my offense, obviously. But right here, there's the clear out defense. Great deployment. He knows the whistle's coming, just gets it up with a flyer.
Atkins nails the free throw. So they have cut that 20-point margin in half. 7-20, Tinsley. Keeps the dribble against Atkins. O'Neal the screen on him. Tinsley goes right on the pick and roll. Knocked away, but Artest will save it. 7 on the shot. Artest up firing.
Very tough shot. They had him moving to his left.
Pretty inside to Blount. And takes a hard foul from Foster. And, now McCarty, words are exchanged. Blount gets up. It was a tough foul underneath.
And I don't blame Walter either. I mean, you got to protect your teammate. Foster making sure there's no layup up there. Call the flag, and this is the ability of Blount. He screens off well, and this is the giveaway. And wow, usually anything around the head is called.
You know, what was interesting, I happened to notice late in the Indiana bench, one of the assistant coaches stepped down immediately in front of the rest of the bench. They probably discussed what should we have done in the Artest situation. And they probably have appointed one of the coaches, if something happens on the floor, get down in front of the substitutes and remind them not to come out on the floor because it's an automatic suspension.
And you were right. They had alluded to that. Rick had mentioned maybe some of it was our fault. Now, normally they're going to call this, but anything over that,
right.
You know, normally that would be a flagrant. But I guess they felt he was going for the shoulders. The hand slipped towards the head. Fortunately, everybody's well.
And unfortunately for the Celtics, Blount can't cut into that 10-point margin at the free throw line. So stepping out high is Artest. Pierce on him. O'Neal. Foster forces up a nice little hook underneath in traffic.
And O'Neal took the defense with him with the dribble. Their vision, and Foster reads it beautifully.
Foster 2 of 3 from the floor. Davis whips it into Blount on the attack again, but Artest was there.
What a great read and team defense.
And the other end, Tinsley goes down with McCarty underneath, and the crowd likes the fact that the Pacers went down hard. And of course, coming up next, as soon as this game ends, we'll have Game 3 of the Lakers-Houston series. Lakers up there, out west, lead that one 2-0. So the Rockets in the same situation that the Celtics are in right here. Badly need a win. Do not want to go down 3-0. Looking at a Game 4 on Sunday. Tinsley misfires. McCarty rebounds it. Celtics are down by a dozen. Pierce going to drive. Get to the rim. Blocking foul and one coming up, and Pierce on that free throw line. That's what the Celtics need. Get Pierce on the free throw line.
And the big thing, I think, Brent, when you look at Atkins, giving it up early, that's the key to this play. Right here, then we can make a decision. Put it on the deck. You see the heels on the restraining line, the power and an opportunity for one here. He needs 10 free throws a game, I think, for this team. That's how good a job the Pacers have done against him.
That is the 3rd personal on Jermaine O'Neal, and his first since the early going. Davis gambled, missed. Miller open, fires it
He wants two. He can't believe it. Well, anytime it's an open jumper, it's Miller time, and we have no objection to that time of the evening.
No, and Reggie has got it on with a fan right off to my left, and that's, I think, fueling Reggie. Score it, and a foul on Miller. Ricky Davis is on the free throw line, and this guy is whacking his hand over here at Reggie Miller, telling him to shut up every time he comes by me, and you have to ask Spike Jones, but Reggie sometimes feeds off that.
He just loves it. The time, you can see the toe on it. He can't believe as he rings the bell and sees the two. Important. You know what was interesting? Rick Carlisle went to him, calm down. He was going after the official. And don't forget, it's a big improvement for this team is they're maturing this year, not getting involved with officials.
Carlisle, studying the stats, found out that when they got technicals and things of that, they were not a very good basketball team. The statistics told the story when he studied it, and Artest nails a 3-ball.
And Brent, what they said was 70%. They won 70% of the games when there was no technical or no problem, and only 50% when they had penalties.
So there's your three-point story in this game. McCarty will try to end it, and he does right there.
And that's what Pierce can do. When he plays the game like that, people have to help. He's so good with the dribble, he can be effective at finding others.
Lead is 9, but can the Celts shut down the Pacers offense? Pierce looking in on our test. Inside of 10 on the shot. Got Foster coming down the baseline and one.
Just keep yourself busy. That's what Foster did. He got involved in the screen. He did the low post area, finding a hole and presenting yourself in a solid fashion. And his ability to finish is extraordinary around the rim. Here he keeps himself as he gets right in the area and takes that hit, protects the basketball with the rim, wards him off, and converts.
With 4.5 minutes to go in the third quarter, Carlisle has decided, let's get back to the bench now, where I feel that we're much deeper. Fred Jones has stepped onto the floor. Al Harrington, who scored 15 in the first half, will check in at the next opportunity. The lead is back to 12 at the 4:28 mark. Davis puts his head down in a blocking foul against Jones, and here comes Harrington, who was the offensive star, 7 of 10 from the field in the first half for the Pacers.
Well, there's some asset to go to. Back off a little bit. You go to Big Al Harrington, able
and bring the belt deep. Look at this, Ray. You had just mentioned the ability to score, his rebounding, and effective defensively, which is lost in numbers.
Davis misses the first free throw, so the Pacers are fouling and putting the Celts on the line, but Boston is not able to take total advantage of it here.
Poised under fire when you look at Rick Carlisle. Very understated. I think that's part, his demeanor, in effect, has helped this team.
Piano players are like that.
Yeah, accomplished ones. Who's his buddy? Is Bruce Hornsby, right? Yes. Did he play in Philly?
Absolutely.
The appearance, they asked him to play the last number. Oh, nice hesitation.
It's open left. Blount, basket interference, and I'm not so sure it was going to go in.
I'm with you. I think it was coming off, but when you're up big, which is something that I've been able to do in my short stint, it's very tempting. And right here, I think you're right. I think it's pretty close. I think it was coming off, though.
It was close. Pierce pumps on Artest, then goes back to the right. There's that help defense. O'Neal was right there. That time he had beaten Artest, but it was the help D from O'Neal that turned him away.
What a nightmare when you think of it. You got Artest, who just is one of the greatest on-the-ball defenders in recent years. And then you got O'Neal Lumen.
O'Neal going to put it down. Jump shot on the left baseline into Pierce's hands. Pierce is going to come up firing. Harrington got over on him. Battle underneath, and the Pacers come away. And Tinsley had Harrington open. Now he gives it to him, and a beautiful pass from Al. Shot is missed by Jones, who thought he was fouled. At the other end, it'll be Davis. And he is fouled by Tinsley. No question about it. Tinsley raised his hand right away.
A pretty good reaction on the block shot at the one end, and then the counter run out. Davis holding his wrist as he comes out. But look at this defense you mentioned. You've got a big guy who really reads things well, and they collapse from the top, so you get all that assistance if O'Neal happens to step over.
Celtics have been only a 50% free throw shooting team this quarter. They are 4 of 8 this quarter, so they've left 4 points on the table, and you can't do that when you're trying to dig out of a 20-point hole.
75% for the year, so that's unusual for them.
Jermaine Jones reports in the Celtics, and McCarty will leave and take a break, but he was one of the hustle guys for the Celtics.
Yeah, really a great effort. Both ends of the floor, too, and he spreads the D, waits for somebody to penetrate and find them.
Lead is 11. Goes down to 9. Johnson and Artest out with Harrington, Jones, and O'Neal for Indiana.
We've got an ISO now.
Artest has handled the ball a lot tonight. Comes up firing, not there, into Blanc's hand.
Good shot.
Moves in on O'Neal, who blocks it.
Oh, get it out of Dodge. You expose that one hand, though. I don't know why you don't protect.
Johnson in behind O'Neal. Screen, roll, shot not taken by O'Neal. I thought he was going to come up and fire. Instead, he threw it down low. So we've got a timeout called by the Boston Celtics here at the 2:20. Now watch the defense here. This is what makes Indiana so lethal.
It's timing, anticipation, and the ability to elevate. And look at the left hand, too. I mean, that's amazing. If he used the right, he probably would have fouled, Brent. Heads up play, even to the end. Terrific negator to complement the great perimeter D. Is that a little Dikembe?
Looked a little bit.
No.
Get that stuff out of here. Indiana up 11.
The NBA playoffs on ESPN continues after these messages.
Purple and gold, that's all I bleed, that's all I know. L.A. Oh boy.
Kobe Bryant wearing the baby blue right now. He'll throw on the purple and gold in just a second.
Get ready for Game 3 against the Rockets. Kobe playing his 100th playoff game.
The
youngest player to accomplish that feat.
Kevin, thank you.
Here Indiana leading Boston
74-63. And we take a look at our Chevy game track here, Bill.
Well, it's a matter of superior bench, obviously, but the ability to complement one another, where it's runouts or making mistakes or getting out on Pierce. I mean, just been solid. He has struggled a little bit, not getting to the free throw line, but cleaning it all up. The journeyman, I just think he understands how to play. Jeff Foster getting in the right spot.
Turnover me. That was the GMC game track. As an owner of a Denali, I should know better.
Apologies are accepted here. And right now,
same manufacturer, though, right? GM, they were. Okay.
You were in the hut. They need the same kind of spark right now. 4 seconds left on the clock. Plenty of time to dribble and get to the rim if they would so desire.
Deep to O'Neal. Is he going to fire the 3 ball? Off to the right, and Ricky Davis cleans it out. Trying to get back down inside that 10 again. Brown's jump hook over the top. No, 1 and out. Self-retreat. Now there have been 16
second chance points for the Pacers and only 4 for the Celtics.
And that was a case in point is the deep jack here. Johnson really confident in that stroke. Getting back to the inability.
The offensive rebound.
Nobody's on the glass when he takes the jump hook. That's part of the problem for John Carroll and company.
Here's being forced way out of his comfort zone by Artest. Puts it down, tried to give it to Blount at the last instant. Got in a little bit too deep for that particular pass. And here at the other end.
Johnson will deep out to O'Neal.
And Johnson with a great slide down to help in front of Blount.
Pick and roll. Boy, they're efficient on that pick and roll. I didn't realize they used it that much.
Well, the one thing with O'Neal, he has improved that shot, that slot. He really 15 to 18 feet. He can make threes, but they draw people with the drive and then kick it back.
Jeff, why through the year has the pick and roll remained a staple in the NBA and can be worked as nicely as the great players have done?
I give you Stockton Malone. You mentioned it earlier. I think it's impossible to consistently stop when you put two great players together.
I can't think of any. Can you think of any other single play in the NBA that has been as effective through the years as the pick and roll?
Kareem's jump hook.
The sky
hook, excuse me.
Johnson.
Look at this hustle, running it down Jones.
Offensive rebounds. They dominated. The Celtics have had only 3 offensive rebounds for Coach Carroll here tonight.
After a good start, it's settled in again, Pacer style.
Saw that shot of Larry Bird. Nomar Garcia-Perez come back to watch the remainder of the second half. Arteta. Last break to this crowd. They gave him a standing ovation, even though he hit the basketball operations for their opponent. Larry Bird is like Ted Williams in the city of Boston.
Long memory. Arteta shoots one at the buzzer here.
Criticism of Arteta. Takes maybe a few too many shots. But you know, I'm
too many threes, you mean, or deep ones?
Yeah, maybe I'm being picky.
When you guard like that, you can do anything you want, right? That's part of the bonus, the reward.
I apologize. I'm out.
Century Fox's presentation of ESPN's Play Like There's No Tomorrow.
Here was that introduction a little earlier of Larry the Legend Bird. The Red Auerbach probably told him, save that introduction for the second half.
Well, I don't know how old you get. That always feels good. And of course, I haven't handled it firsthand myself. Yeah. It is what a old they were. They'll save Red if they make a run.
79-63 as we start the final. Banks on the floor along with Jones and Blount. Pierce up firing. Ricky Davis has played the entire second half. And a rebound advantage for the Pistons. Rebounding the Celtics totally only 33-28. But offensively, the Celtics have only 3 offensive rebounds to the Pacers' 10 here tonight.
And a very efficient team.
Picked up by Banks now. The other statistic, the assist turnover ratio. The Pacers are so much more effective there. 52 assists tonight to 7 turnovers. And the Celtics, meanwhile, have only 15 assists to 13 turnovers.
And that's one I look at the half, by the way. Assist really tells you, are they moving the ball or getting other people involved? A little too stagnant.
The Celtics, they sort of stopped.
One of the forwards gets it, whether it was Davis or Pierce.
Stop that time. Blount gets a rare offensive rebound.
Comes Banks, penetrates, kicks Jones. Jones had an open look, and he makes it. That's what they need. A little more of that efficiency with the
Johnson brings it down. Bender.
Foster.
Harrington. And the foul is against the Celtics. It's against Banks as we check in with Doris.
Well, Brent, during that last timeout, as the Celtics into this 14-point lead, very lifeless huddle. Ricky Davis sat on the sideline shaking his head. There appeared to be some disinterest and just not a whole lot of emotion or chatter among the players as they try to bust in here in the last 10:45, guys.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
You know, Darcy,
in it. I mean, they've really got to play on top of the game to get back in.
you would expect emotion.
I mean, it's still a game.
In the playoffs, it's much more meaningful. They're giving it that juice they started at the beginning of the third quarter. Brent, maybe that might help them. Get involved, rebound, gang rebound.
going to have to be efficient here. There's a nice pass by Davis. Jones open. I thought Davis was going to go ahead with the shot, but he saw that his man was open underneath, and that's the kind of play we can bring him back in. That is his 5th assist. Rookie Davis has 5 assists tonight, and out. That was a foolish foul.
Yeah, another one. Going over the top that far, I think they'd like to see him go under.
Well, tomorrow on TNT, Miami at New Orleans. That series moves now down to Louisiana, and then Detroit at Milwaukee. Moves to Milwaukee with that series tied at a victory apiece.
Jones doing a nice job on her. They're really fighting for post position.
Turn it over on Blount's defensive play against Boston. Davis switches hands, gets to the rim, tap back. No.
Woo. Pretty good effort, though.
Here's Harrington back to the basket.
Pretty good fadeaway from here, too. Nice double.
Jones.
That's tough.
Drains the 3.
How about his improvement as a shooter? Saw him in college, a high flyer, really getting into the thick of things, and now some range.
Davis basically is carrying the offense for the Celtics. Banks misfires, and Bender, with our test out, Bender has been drawing Pierce, and Pierce has been extremely quiet here in the opening minutes, the final quarter.
A lot of one and dones too, Brandon. You just don't see many tips, follows.
There's Bender, goes up over the top, nails the shot. So more of the Pacers' depth, and Carlisle is very happy with the way things are unfolding right now. Reggie Miller, high fives. The Pacers brain trust. They've got a solid advantage.
The NBA playoffs on ESPN continues in a moment. ESPN's presentation of the NBA playoffs, brought to you by The Day After Tomorrow, in theaters May 28th. Adidas, impossible is nothing. And Saturn, people first.
Who's the big talker?
Steve Francis coming off a triple-double in Game 2 of the playoffs, checking out ESPN the magazine as he gets ready for ESPN's broadcast. Steve, I'm sure you're in there. I think it's near the back, NBA section. Game coming up.
All right, Kevin, and you can see the NBA playoffs like never before with the wider screen and amazing clarity of ESPN HD. Tomorrow night, catch Game 3 of the Kings-Mavericks series and come back here for Game 4 between the Pacers and Celtics on Sunday. Some of the many celebrities who are here tonight. JoJo White, I also saw him here earlier. Of course, the great Bob Cousy, Hall of Famers. So many of them there, the championship banners hanging from the rafters here. The crowd still wants to believe, but the Pacers truly have been the better basketball team here tonight. Bender now is chasing Pierce, switches over on Atkins. So Pierce wants the ball down low against the guard, and he's got it on Johnson. Spins, comes inside, misses. And it's 1 and out.
And just very difficult to get a layup. The swarming attitude defensively by the Pacers. They took advantage of that mismatch, and Bender really moving without the ball well, and Mim not able.
The speed, huh? He is a very smooth player, just developing.
The reality starting to set in here with the Celtics and the faithful. A few of them have even begun
Heading for the exits, feeling the inevitability of a Pacers win in the 3rd game of this series.
So that indicative of the night Pierce has had that last play, Brent, wasn't it?
Sure is. Bender trying to get a wrap around, works his way to the free throw line. Another member of this very talented and deep Indiana Pacers bench.
You were mentioning those great luminaries. We look at Paul Pierce and check in on this deep and talented bench. All the Hall of Famers, it's all Springfield is where the Hall of Famers. They could put it here very easily with all the flags and Hall of Famers. And Crozier, one of those fellas you alluded to that just step in and raise the bar almost. They put more to the lead.
games, just hopefully you can stay even. This team just...
As you can see, 36-22 and not giving up anything on the glass.
As the #1 seed in the East, Indiana, if they advance to the next round, and it appears they've got a stranglehold on this particular series, they would play the winner of Miami, New Orleans. The 4-5 battle, and Mim goes down along with Foster.
I think Foster brought him down. I think that's the way it's going to go. Nice competing on the glass by everybody, but Pierce gets that opportunity, unable to convert some shots that he generally would make.
So there is the best record in the NBA, 61-21. Note that Western Conference. Raph, circle that one right there.
That is unbelievable.
That 20-8. Let that sink in, that there is at least one team that knows how to play, and they have dominated them in their beautiful building in Indianapolis. So this is a team that, should they get there, and there's still a tough road ahead of them. Not to mention the Detroit Pistons, who we thought were ready to move to the finals. Now we're going to have to wait and see what happens. And Jermaine O'Neal has a higher scoring average against the West than he does the East. And of course,
where did you dig that up?
From him. You know, I wonder if I need a second source.
No, you know what? It's like asking a coach how to pronounce a player's name. They always say it wrong. You better get a second source.
So if I'm wrong on that one, I'll blame
attribution at his feet.
I'm out. I'm giving my source on that one.
You know, years ago I was on a Legends cruise, and obviously I was not a legend. I was there to do a radio show. But today I was talking to Jermaine as Pierce gets another open look, and again, inability to convert. And he remembered all the luminaries that were on this cruise. You know, Sam Jones, Artis Gilmore, George Gervin. He's rattling Rick Barry. He's Calvin Murphy. I'm going, oh my God. And he was a baby then. I think he was 18 years of age. And usually kids don't have a sense of history like that at a young age. But he certainly has.
Yeah, no, that's right. Underneath is Ricky Davis. On the free throw line with the foul. Of course, the Lakers-Rockets game 3 of that series coming up next here on there was a anecdote from the Los Angeles Dodgers the other day. One of the young rookies, I can't remember his name, walked up, I guess down at spring training when they were down at Vero Beach, and he said, "Who is that gray-haired guy over there, that Sandy? What did he do?" Oh, man, I'm telling you.
Hey, Sandy, the great basketball player, I might add, out of Erasmus. Was it Erasmus? Am I right? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, and
he was a heck of a basketball player with Cincinnati.
Went to Cincinnati, and the baseball team was offered a trip to go down with Tony Traber for a tennis exhibition, and he was in the office. Said, "You mean they're going to New Orleans? I want to go," Sandy said. And that's when he got out for baseball. And the rest is history. Mr. Harvey?
Yes, sir. And there was Harrington in underneath as the domination of the glass continues here for the Indiana Pacers.
Got good hooks. Well, a little too deep, and maybe got a chug as well.
So a little unease here in Boston on this Friday night. You know, I mean, a backdoor cut like that, wide open put down, and that'll send him to the exit. A wide open backdoor cut. Wow.
You know, I should have known there was a problem here tonight. Celtics when we got on the elevator and we saw the non-alcoholic beer brought up on a Friday night. I knew it could have been disastrous, huh?
Oh, yes. And meanwhile, the Pacers, they just turn it up a notch. Watch Harrington go backdoor, spin away from a card, and take it home now.
How about this? You are right. Just keep on playing. Big Al with the spin out, the ability, and strong. Send it in, and Reggie and others regaling.
Right now, it is all Indiana.
The NBA playoffs on ESPN continues in a moment.
Payton getting set for Game 3 between the Lakers and Rockets. That's coming up as soon as we're done in Boston. Do not tune away. This should be a good one. Brent?
Thank you very much. Here it's 5:45 to go with the Indiana Pacers leading by 23, and several members of the NBA hierarchy are in attendance here. Les Granick, he is the
Deputy Commissioner.
Stern does a terrific job. We check in on our Sprite mad skills, Raph.
And Matt Winnick really has bad time. He disappears at a key time on camera. And O'Neal on cue. Extraordinary. Facing up. His ability around the rim. And really such a multi-dimensional threat. And topped off by a major deterrent in your Sprite mad skills.
Ralph in Montana just asked me, who is Matt Winnick?
Charge of many areas. Vice President under Commissioner Stern.
And he was seated next to Russ Granick, and so that's why you didn't see him when Raph referred to him. And we assume that the reason that Matt Winnick is here is that he could not get New York tickets in the car. No, don't anybody tell Matt I said that about him. He'll be all over me.
Well, they are busy, though, these 2.5 months. I mean, making all the events. And one of the guys that's provided a terrific play of late, Jonathan Bender with the miss.
Kenny Anderson seeing some playing time now for the Pacers. McCarty move inside.
You can see the scouting, though. They want him to put it on the floor. It diminishes his shooting, but he has been effective with 1 or 2 bounces tonight on the closeout.
And so the Pacers clean out the bench. Kenny Anderson and Scott Pollard are both on the floor now. And all 12 have gone, and Crozier is met by McCarty and fouled. Austin moves to the free throw line. And Doris, what's it been like over there on the Pacers bench?
Well, it's interesting to watch Reggie Miller, a superstar in this league for so many years, in his 17th season. And Jermaine O'Neal was talking earlier this week about the fact that this is a guy who has been at the pinnacle in the NBA and yet willing to subjugate his game at times and willing to defer to his teammates. And as he has sat here and enjoyed his teammates, he's been a big cheerleader. A guy who has, you noted earlier, Bill, a guy who J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award for his work over the course of his career in Indianapolis. Of course, $600,000 raised in helping the needs of young burn victims in Indianapolis. Remember, earlier in his career, Reggie's own home was burned in a fire, and annually hosts burn victims for movie night at his house. This is a young man who has done so much good for the Indianapolis community and the Indiana Pacers organization overall, guys.
And because that Reggie Bowl we talked about earlier, Doris, too, is he raises that money, but he's so professional. Brent, I mean, you go to an Indiana Pacer game, he's there first on the floor, has this, he's superstitious, as we've heard as well, a ritual, and he sets a tone for everybody else, a high bar, and that's what he brings to a team, any team, much less a team with many youngsters.
Well, you know, Boston was within 12 points early this quarter, and since then the Pacers have squeezed the life out of this game. Now here's a number, folks. Watch the rest of the way as Anderson banks one in on a beautiful left-handed run. The Celtics' worst home playoff loss ever now was by 22 points. You've got to go back to 1972. They took on the New York Knicks. We're looking at 23 right now. So that'll keep us, those of us who love numbers, that'll keep us entertained. Rest of the way. Draft, what do you want?
Well, that was the Red Holzman Knickerbockers on the third one, right?
Yeah.
And as he's enjoyed many of those wins in playoffs here, and now he's still enjoying it. And John, a lot of
preparation goes into and getting guys to buy in a playoff situation. And, if we do these things, we can win. And all of a sudden, taken away with
better ability, guys that really understand, and the talent level's extraordinary. Understand how to guard people, and Welsh in now, he can play it all. So I don't know what happened, whether he was ineffective or they just chose others. 17 minutes in the first half, none in the second.
This is going to be very hard for this team, in my opinion, to come back in Game 4. We'll be here on Sunday. This is, at the moment, very discouraging performance by the Boston Celtics in front of their legends. Welsh does get through, and Hunter has a tap to him and tapped away from him.
The extra pass should have shot it, but that's sort of, if they get to the rim, there's always been a major deterrent. That time Welsh really not much of an obstacle, couldn't convert.
Pollard, and he's on the free throw line.
You mentioned clearing the bench. Kenny Anderson had started at point. Very sound guy. Who is one of those guys who understands how he can contribute and beat you. So that tells you 1 through 12. You better be ready. There's a lot of pride with guys on the bench for this team. Do you like
Raft? Who did they get for Brad Miller?
Oh, Pollard from Sacramento.
Was somebody else involved in that deal?
Well, I don't know. In the studio, we'll have the total answer. Well, I thought it was I think it may have been part of an agreement. Was it a
three-teamer in that?
Yeah,
Brad Miller is a heck of a basketball.
Oh, he sure is.
And an Indiana fellow who loves life in the wide open spaces. Bender on the run, left hand, rejected by Mim.
Give it.
2-1 now. Give it back to Welsh, and he's fouled by Jones.
Tim Cargan lets me know that Mercer was involved in that three-way.
Yes, exactly. I knew there was somebody else involved in that. Headed for a stranglehold in this series.
The NBA playoffs on ESPN continues after these messages.
Lakers ready to take the floor in the Toyota Center down in Houston. They have a commanding 2-0 lead in this series. This will be a good game. You better believe Steve Francis and Yao will be fired up to battle L.A.
Yeah, Kevin, I agree with that. And we take a look at the brackets here. And, of course, the Lakers, the 2 seed, would play the winner of the San Antonio-Memphis series. San Antonio leading that 3-0. Remember one thing about that series. San Antonio will hold the home court advantage. Now, it's not like the National Hockey League. Even though the Lakers are the 2 seed, the Spurs had the better overall record. It is somewhat similar to what could occur here in the East with Detroit. Detroit, too, would hold the home court advantage because of having a better record than the New Jersey Nets, even though the Nets won one of the divisions and are the 2 seed. So something to think about as you look ahead to a possible matchup. Of course, the Lakers first have to deal with Houston, and they're only had 2-0 in that series. San Antonio's out 3-0 in theirs.
That's so much for history, too. You think the Grizzlies had played them well? It's amazing. Well, come playoff time, Cream, stepping up.
Here we've got Raft. All 12 players for the Indiana Pacers have scored here tonight.
And right there on cue, the point guard continues. Hit a little kiss shot earlier, and that time a jumper by Kenny the Kid out of Queens. Archbishop Malloy and Curran. A truly terrific gentleman in high school ranks.
And the leading scorer for both teams tonight is Al Harrington. 9 of 14 from the field, 19 points. He had 9 rebounds. He almost had a double-double off the bench tonight. He had 3 offensive rebounds, 6 defensive, second chance points. The Pacers had 19 to the Celtics 8. Turnovers, the Celtics turned it over 16 times, contributing to 20 points. And the Pacers turned it over only 9 times, leading to 12 points. Really total domination.
That's been the difficulty, I think, in this series. Not getting any offensive rebounds. Pacers countering with great pursuit. And you mentioned Harrington, only 28 minutes, too, as Hunter takes care of Anderson's layup. And here's the story, I think, as you look at the Celtics. I think Paul Pierce, with all his talent, a lot rests on your shoulders. You know, you really need an A game from him, and hopefully 2 other guys will have superior games, and it's been a struggle for him. They gear to him, as you noted, struggling with his jumper when he's open, 4 of 17. And that's not all Artest, too. I think sometimes you get in a funk, and you got to think positively, too, and so get some good vibes going. Because when you got O'Neal in the back, there's not a whole lot of vibes if we meet Artest.
And we're sitting right around that magic number. Remember, the Celtics' worst home playoff loss now, 22. You've got to go back to 1972. And the Pacers got a chance to set a little negative history as far as the Celtics are concerned, and washing away some memories of the process. Remember, Indiana came in here having lost the last 6 playoff games in Boston, and they got upset last year. They were knocked out by the Celtics, and here it looks like they're going to hand Boston its worst home playoff setback ever. Final minute to go, though.
I think Rick alluded that to us today. How they've got to get some positive thinking too in their playoff pursuit. The last couple of years have been tough.
Beautiful play. The reserves, 10-11. You hit Anderson, number 10, perhaps hits Crozier, number 11 man on the bench, and bingo, just like that. Knocked away.
Pollard, his denial and activity. I like him as a blonde, though.
Oh, Celtics nailed the 3 now. And that puts the total here at 187. And 2 of 13 from three-point land. And it's a 23 right now. Jones. Bender's got it. And that should do it.
Oof. They are relentless from top to bottom.
So the Boston Celtics have played 261 games since 1948. And here tonight, the Indiana
Pacers come in and beat them by
3. Their worst home playoff ever. 58 bench points by Indianapolis, led by